Welcome to NYCTalking.com podcast. And today I am joined by,
Felicia Madison.
and what do you do?
I do a lot. I'm a stand-up comedian and I'm a talent booker for a comedy club, and I also run a comedy school and a comedy record label.
Huh?
And I'm a mom.
The city of New York, Boricua from the Bronx.
I had something I wanted to ask you right off the bat, right? Because I've been kind of struggling with myself lately.
Mm.
In the stuff I read about you, the email, it was talking about like mental health, right? I'm sorry to jump right into the heavy stuff. It's
No,
just
go
like it was
right.
the first
I
thing
like
that
it.
popped into my head, and I feel like the world can benefit from this. Do you feel that there's a correlation between comics and mental health?
Not a good correlation, a bad correlation. Yeah, there is, there's definitely, it seems to be the belief that, I think it's not so much comedians, but I think artists in general
Mm.
struggle. And I think comedians um, are their minds work differently. Like I know I could speak for myself. I'm very introspective and thinking a lot and thinking things through and just thinking about things in a different way. Um, and it's also a very isolating career. You're sort of doing it alone. You don't really have a lot of people around you. You don't have a team of people. So it can lead to a very isolating life. And I think a lot of comedians um, that are successful delve into their pain a little bit and try to make sense of it with humor. And also, they deal with whatever pain they're dealing with. Being on stage and getting those laughs are a drug that helped them feel better. So
Like cathartic,
all of
like yeah.
that and so that if you're in a rut comedy wise, or if you're not feeling it, I could see how it could put you into a deeper depression. Like I usually, if I find that I'm getting depressed, I will go on stage and it will automatically, 9 times out of 10, pick up my mood. It depends on the audience.
Right. They can be rough.
They can be rough. Just the other day I went on stage and I was like, okay, that was not a pick me up.
Yeah, I imagine that's a very vulnerable thing, right? Being a comic. Um, simply, I mean, I've done like open mics and poetry and hip hop music and stuff. And going up, especially if you're doing heavy stuff, which my stuff tends to be really deep and heavy, it's a very vulnerable thing, It is therapeutic though. Uh,
Yeah. I mean, I think the key thing to everyone always says you're so brave, and I don't, there's a lot more difficult things in the world to be doing. But the brave thing that I think comedians do is they open up, their heart and their life to the world, which a lot of people aren't comfortable doing that.
I watch a lot of comedy, like a lot of comedy. I've recently started having like panic attacks.
Ooh,
Um, so I've been trying to stay away from stuff that can, like give me bad dreams or mess me up,
so
and
life.
yeah, this whole thing,
Just like put myself in the closet and not come out.
I actually have felt like that sometimes. What saves me is I teach Zumba, right?
Oh,
So, that's my current form of expression, right? I teach Zumba classes, and I've had to show up for them,
right.
which basically kept me from spiraling out of control. Where I otherwise right now I'd probably be 100 pounds heavier and in a much worse state. At least it keeps me going to the gym. It keeps me active. You
Right.
know, there's a lot of people in there who are supportive and they noticed. They could like, hey, you okay, dude?
Mm.
I could see that something you seem, and I'm like, oh, I was having a anxiety attack during song number 4.
What was
Yeah.
song number 4?
It was the song Calm Down with
Yeah.
Selena Gomez and
Yeah.
so that song, and it's not a bad song, it's just that it emotionally moved me. It's her voice with his voice, and it was just the sweetness of it, and it just moved me, and it kind of made me want to cry on that time when I was
Yeah.
teaching. You know what I mean? So that was
Yeah, music is very moving in that way. I have a couple of songs that I like to play on the way to the club that like put me in an upbeat, good mood. It's
mm,
amazing how powerful that is.
what songs,
It's the
if I can
uh
ask.
yeah, it's of course now I'm gonna it's that Laylo. It's originally a Bruce Springsteen song and it was redone by Laylo. It's called oh God, I knew you were gonna ask me that.
You walked right into that one.
I know, I'll find it. I'll find it though. It's right here on my Dancing in the Dark.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they do it sort of like in a upbeat kind of way, but that always that I've been obsessed with that one lately. And
Oh,
Are You Ready by Lizzo is the other one.
okay. I have to. I want to hear the version of Laylo. You said Laylo.
Yeah, I think it's called I'm not very good with names.
What?
Lolo.
Oh,
Lolo.
Lolo. I'll look it up
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I'd like to see their take on it. Like, I love that song. I remember it. I'm an '80s kid, so I was a kid in the '80s, so all that stuff was, my stuff. Are you comfortable talking about what you've dealt with mental health and stuff, or
Yeah, yeah, totally. I mean, I talk about it a lot. I was suffering from, I joke that I suffered from postpartum depression since birth,
nah?
my birth.
I can see that. That makes sense. I mean, it's clever. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, so it was never, it was more, I was never like, clinically diagnosed, but always just never really, 100% satisfied and would have moments of like, being really seriously depressed for someone that seemingly, which was really annoying, seemingly shouldn't have been depressed. Like in my comedy, I joke about like, you have everything, Felicia, you shouldn't be depressed. And I'm like, I said I was depressed, not inferior to you. So it's like something that I've struggled with when people are like, you're crazy. I'm like, well, that doesn't make me feel better.
That
Uh,
doesn't help. It's not
yeah, it doesn't
helpful.
help. Like, why are you depressed? I guess if you have reasons to be depressed, it's understandable a little bit more, but I didn't really seem to have any
Well,
reasons for it.
that you're aware of on
Yeah.
on the top level, right? There's this stuff runs deep. I've been going to
Yeah.
therapy.
Yeah.
You know?
Can we can we do a therapy session here? Because I still haven't figured out that deep thing. But needless to say, I found something that a passion, the comedy, that gave me a sense of purpose and made me start feeling good about myself. And it's that in time in conjunction with some meds have been really helpful.
So you officially did get it diagnosed. You mentioned meds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Um, might I ask which meds you are taking?
I'm on Wellbutrin.
Okay. I think, well, Butrin might be related. I think it's a SSRI. I'm not sure. I'll have to
I'm not
verify
sure either.
because I was given Lexapro. Um, and I think they're in the same family, but I'm not in. I believe so because my sister told me she tried them both, also
Mm.
for similar reasons. Runs in the family. You know.
Yeah.
Um, but in my case, it was well. I feel like depression was always there, right? Actually, if it wasn't for writing, I would have probably removed myself when I was a kid. Um,
Mm.
Writing helped me pouring it out like in poetry, and then I would bring it to my childhood therapist, and we would talk about it. And
Mm.
that was really helpful for me. Just as it's happening, I would write about it, and then every week I'd go to him and I'd bring this notebook of new stuff that I wrote. We talk about it, and he'd realize that you had a good week, you feel better. I could tell by your writing. you know um as an adult, it's been working out, fighting, mixed martial arts, having an outlet. Now Zumba, of course. Zumba gives me my creative expression. I can create the dances and stuff.
Yeah,
um
I deal with a lot of mental health with comedians and been working with this organization called it used to be called we're all a little crazy. It's called Same Here Global. and it deals with a lot of kind of like what you're saying is like it takes away the stigma of mental health. Like it always seems like I'm normal, you're not, and so they sort of make it like we're all a little crazy, so there's no healthy and not healthy. And they talk about how it's important to have these outlets, and you know like you do yoga, do a lot of things, not just not that medication's bad, but not just to medicate yourself. And we're trying to get together with some comedians and doing, they call them circles, where we all get together and talk about all our issues, so you feel like you're not in this alone.
Talking helps so much. Even when it first started happening to me, I reached out to a few friends and just, I didn't realize how many people take Lexapro. And nobody talks about it. I think for that
Yeah.
reason, there's stigma. I've been very vocal about it and talking about the anxiety and everything because it really I mean it limits you and uh I I I don't why should I be embarrassed about it? So I talk about it and at the end of the day I'm like, well, if you think this makes me soft, well, come fight me and let's see. You know, let's see how that goes for you. And it's probably not gonna go very well. And then you'll be like, damn, this guy who's soft whooped my butt.
I'm
So,
not fighting you.
you know,
I might do a Zumba challenge, but I'm not going to fight
ah,
you.
yeah. I was looking through your timeline and I saw that you guys covered mental health and I saw that, unfortunately it looks like someone was lost. So that sucks. But that's the thing, we got to be able to talk about it, especially men. I think I mean, everybody, of course, but men in particular, they think that it makes them less of a man, and that's kind of like why I've been vocal about it. That's why I thought we'd start on that heavier topic. Hey, listen, it's okay, you know,
Yeah. I
it's
feel like men are just less in touch with their emotions, or they bottle it up more.
uh, I think that's what's happened with me,
Yeah.
like I mean, when I spoke with my therapist yesterday and I was telling her some of the stuff, like my pops was on heroin when I was growing up, I was used as a shield in a shootout, my
Wow.
mom had some rough patches with depression. So all these, and she just sat there and she had this look on her face and she was like, that's a lot.
You think?
You know, she's like, that's a lot. So how did you feel about it? And I
Uh-huh.
said, it's just normal. It's just the Bronx. This is how we grew up.
Yeah.
And she's like, it's not normal.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're so nonchalant about it, that somebody used you as a block when they were shooting at someone, so that person would shoot you, and the fact that you're just another day in the Bronx, that's like, that says to me, you must have a lot of stuff in there and it's finally boiling over. And now you're panicking for no reason. Maybe you're panicking from that memory of being in a shootout that you didn't react then, you
That could
know,
be. That could
you
be.
know. So
I think I'd be panicking for decades if I were being used as a shield in a shootout.
yeah, that was a odd
I
thing.
panic when I can't find something to wear in my closet.
That is an odd thing. Um, but let us move on from this deep, dark topic and let's
Start deep, we'll move up.
yeah, we'll hit them,
You
get them
like
down and
dive
then
right
bring them
in.
up. So so how does it feel to be a comedian? Like how did you get into it? And how does it feel to just because I've always watched, right? But comedians at that point have it there already. The materials created, everything's like tell me about that whole process. Like how's it go?
Well, gosh, that's like a long, big question. But so I went to a class with a girlfriend. I had a friend that was doing stand up, and I always was saying to him I wanted to try it, only because I was always like in social situations. Sort of what I did was I would listen and then I would tell a joke. So I always felt like I was making people laugh. So I decided to take a class, and a girlfriend and I went, and we took it was a 6-week class, which ended in a graduation show, which is how most comedians get started.
Mm.
And I loved it from day one, from the first class when I got up there and everyone had to do 5 minutes. Like I wasn't even prepared. I just basically told like 5 minutes of jokes I'd told over the last some odd years. And they were great. And people laughed right away. And then loved the show. And it really is a drug. You really get hooked on that like laughter. And I just loved it. I started doing it as often as I could. I took more classes. And then it got difficult because the way it works in the business, in the beginning, to get stage time, you have to literally bring your audience. If you could bring 5 people to the club, you could get 5 minutes of time. And it got more and more difficult for me as a mom, with all my friends being moms, to bring them downtown late at night when they want to be home with their kids. And they were all free during the day. So I started lunchtime comedy shows where I brought comedy to my neighborhood in a restaurant during the day when all my friends were free because the kids were in school. And I hired a couple of comedians and we did a lunchtime comedy show. And I did that for like a year and a half. And then I moved it to the club that I'm currently at. And I also started a daytime mic again so that I could practice my material during the day. And that mic lasted for like my entire career. It was a feedback mic, and a lot of comedians came through it. It was just a really fun, nurturing environment. And it's now that mic is now morphed into my school. Um, so it all sort of just like tumbled onto each other. So I brought the lunches to the club, and then I was producing a lot of really great shows there and working with a lot of young talent. So they hired me to be their new talent director, and I did that for a while. And then they asked me to be the booker of the club, and then I started managing and running the club in addition to booking it. Um, and it just was all sort of a very organic way, a thing that happened. It wasn't really my intentions. It just sort of kind of rolled along that way. But and it's been good because it's given me a local great place for me to perform. And I work with a lot of comedians that I like discovering and nurturing talent. And so I get an opportunity to do that. And I officially started a comedy school called FUNY, Funny Stand Up, Funny University in New York. And it's a three multi-tiered program with a curriculum where comedians can move up the ladder and graduate into eventually becoming passed at the club, hopefully.
Very cool.
Does that
Wow.
answer all your that was a big question.
That's like my psychologist a lot.
I could go
Um, you
on.
said something, and now, I mean, it was a little further back. I was trying to latch on to it, but also focusing on what you were saying. Yes. So the school is the normal protocol for comedians? I thought y'all were just funny. You know what I mean? I thought it was like you either are or you aren't. I didn't know that there was a whole like education process to it.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of the big controversy is people say you can't teach comedy. And you have to be innately funny. You can't teach someone to have funny thoughts, but you can teach someone how to write better jokes and how, there's a lot involved in comedy. Everyone thinks it's just someone getting on stage and, you know, performing. I remember reading Steve Martin's autobiography, and he said after every show, people would walk up to him and say, "How much of that was improvised?" And they all want to hear like 98% because they want to think it was like, spur of the moment. But the fact of the matter is, like, probably 2% was improvised and 98% was well planned out, thought out, practiced, rehearsed, worked multiple times. And that's why comedians need so much stage time. They need to get on stage in front of multiple different audiences and try their jokes and perfect them and get them to the point where they're perfect. They are not some people are born funny, but a lot of people have to work it. And you can definitely teach people. And you need stage time, you know, you don't just, no one just like says, okay, here, you've never been on stage, okay, get on stage, you know.
Yeah,
There's like you know, it's a protocol.
yeah, yeah. You have a special coming out on YouTube. Is that correct?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
tell us
next
about.
week, unless it gets picked up by someone between now and next week.
Hey, have you pitched it?
Yeah,
You
I have a couple. I have actually have a call later today, so we'll see. It's my last ditch effort. So, but
yeah,
not, you know, most comedians are putting their specials out on YouTube. It's
yeah.
been a trend for a while now. Um, and yeah, so I'm excited about it. It's been a culmination of years of work where I wanted to put all my material together. It was a combination of, you know, I think you get to a point where you have a lot of material and it weaved together nicely into a story, and you want to sort of, you know, put it out there and put it to bed, and then you could sort of move on from there. I was kind of like sick of doing a lot of these jokes and I wanted to just get them on an album. So it's been like years and years of working on it, and was super excited to get an hour. It's about a little less than an hour, and put it out there, and I'm really excited about it. I'm really very it was I'm a very goal oriented person. When I set a goal for myself, I accomplish it. And I picked the date that I was going to do it. And I worked my butt off for 3 months every day, just doing it, redoing it, working with people, helping me to hone it and get it to where it was. And I still feel like I could have been better, but everyone says you always feel that way.
Mm.
And it went really well. And I'm really excited to launch it.
Cool. Yeah, I want
And I
to
hope
check that
someone
out.
watches it.
Yeah, I'm at least you got me. I'm gonna watch it. I'm uh I'm looking forward to seeing it. I love stand-up comedy. My wife isn't into it as much as I am, so um when we're watching stuff together, we'll have to watch other things or whatever. But if it were up to me, I'd probably be watching stand-up all day. But then when I try to like, hey, let's watch this, she's like, yeah, she's not into it as much as I am. Um, but I love stand-up, so I'm always, and a lot of these stand-up comics, I never even heard of them before, and they're actually hilarious.
Yeah.
They're pretty entertaining. That now you're starting to get new names, just like everyone is just getting a special on Netflix or Max or a Prime, you know.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
we talk about that. There's so many more comedians than there were, you know, the time of like Jerry Seinfeld and those people. It's a whole different world. They used to just like hang out at a club and be able to get spots. Now there's like thousands of comedians in New York and over the, you know, all over the United States. It's become very popular, more so than it has in the past, which has made it more competitive. But it's also given a lot more opportunity because there's a lot more out there.
and there's also you have like if you don't get picked up, you can always put it on YouTube. You have the option and people will watch it.
People like it because you know, you're more in control. You're developing an audience that is yours. You know, you're collecting the people and you make money and you have, you know, demographics to put behind you. So a lot of people prefer doing it to, you know, putting it somewhere else where they complain, like if you're on Netflix, you kind of get buried under a pile of, you know, you're there for the first week, but then you have to search to find them.
Right, right. Yeah, and you're not completely in control
Yeah.
whereas on YouTube, I don't know, people might frown on it, but I think it's a great avenue to have, All right,
Yeah.
so HBO doesn't want me, that's cool, I'll pull it out myself. And then if you're funny and people find it, they're gonna love it. And then
Yeah.
do your own thing. You can become, I think there's a couple of guys who did it that way. I
Yeah,
forget
a
the
lot of people
guys.
did. Like, you know, I remember Sam Morril put it, Mark Normand, a lot of people put it up on YouTube, and then it becomes Andrew Schultz put them up on YouTube, and they become very popular, and then people notice it, and then Netflix is calling you saying, "Hey, can you take it down and put it up on Netflix, and I'll give you another one." So, but I don't really have a following on YouTube, so it's a little daunting. You know, I know a lot of people that have done it, And when they put the special up, it creates their YouTube channel. So it's work. It's like just what I need, another social media platform to have to worry about.
Well, that's the long form place where you could put the stuff and, if it picks up, it's great because you could really, that could be the thing that blows it up.
Yeah, you know.
This stuff is tricky. I don't know the formula. I've been trying to blow up my channels for a long time and I I haven't found the formula. There was a period where I was doing really well and then I messed up and started talking about politics.
Yeah, that will
I
kill you.
should not have done that, right? I should not cover politics because my following went down by like 2/3.
Yeah,
All my
I had a
channels
little.
is whoop.
Yeah, I learned that lesson the hard way too. No politics.
Yeah, I'm out of that topic. I don't even get involved with controversial stuff. The boy needs to stay employable. That's kind of know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
kind of my thing there. The whole,
yeah. You have
you
to
know,
make decisions on what's important to you, and not mix business and politics. And it's hard when you're a personality because it's all your business is you, and you have personal opinions. So it's hard to keep quiet when you feel strongly about something.
yeah, yeah, for sure. If there's an injustice or, and
Mm-hmm.
you can't talk about it, that sucks. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
but because of that, like I had like brands like Toyota, that they were like, yo, we can't work with that guy anymore. You know, they used to put stuff on my blog and like ads and press releases, and they'll pay you to do that stuff and cover events. But if you get involved with this controversial stuff, political, um, regardless which side you, or even if you're neutral and you're just speaking from an objective standpoint, somebody will always perceive it a certain way, and things go bad. And today we're able to say some things, and well, in 5 years, those things may be considered offensive or toxic, and then it could get brought up. I was teaching my Zumba class one time, and this girl touched me, right? Like she kind of ran her finger down my chest, and I was like this. I put my hands up like this. I pointed at the camera, and I went like this. And then after the song finished, I said, "She touched me." I was saying it to the camera. To be clear, everybody in here witnesses, she touched me. I did nothing.
Yo,
You know,
you let her on though.
with this rugged good
Yeah,
looks.
that with those moves, Angel. You're like,
Oh,
yeah, how could they resist?
if you saw my choreo, you would know how true that is.
Now I'm very tempted to do Zumba with you.
My
That was my first love, dance. I wanted to be a Broadway dancer growing up.
mm. So
That was
why'd you
my
stop? Like,
first love. I had parents that were you know, didn't come from money and they weren't educated, so all they wanted was their kids to get an education and get a job and make money. And so they weren't really inclined to um, support our dreams to be creatives. It wasn't, their thinking. So none of us did, and that's probably why we were all miserable. And so now I raise my kids to be creative, and they're going to have creative fields, and they're going to be poor, and they're going to be really mad at me for not pushing them to be professionals. So
well, you have three,
can't
right?
win. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. So
You have three children.
I do. I have 3 kids.
You just need one of them to do well. Then that one can support the other two artists, and that
Yeah.
could be the,
Well,
you
they have
know.
to support me too.
Well, of course, all the artists.
Yeah, all the artists. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll wait to see which one's going to be successful.
Oh gosh, that is actually a tricky thing because my son's an artist as well, right? And just this past weekend, it was his birthday, and his grandpa was like, "Hey, so are you gonna continue doing this type of menial work?" Because he works at Trader Joe's, right?
Hmm.
And his grandpa doesn't see that as a proper like a respectable one. My son got up and walked away, and then I started talking to him, and I said, "Hey, he's got to find his own way. He's happy where he's working. He can pay his rent. He's responsible. My son's not a loser. You know, he's not a loser. He's got to find his way." He's like, "No, it's your job to push him and push him and push him." It's in line with what you're saying. You grow up
Yeah.
miserable. I was never like that with my kid. I did the
Yeah.
same thing. I
You did the opposite of what your father did.
well, yeah, yeah. Well, not my dad was addicted to heroin, right? He didn't really for a long time. He eventually cleaned up, but I don't think my pops pushed me to anything. And in terms of me doing well in school and all that, it was more because I wanted to make my mom proud. You know, she was like obviously wanted to go to school and everything, but I just always wanted to make her proud, you
Mhm.
know. So that's why I didn't, go too far astray. It was for my mom. My pops really didn't factor into that. But his grandpa raised his sister, well, his mom, his grandpa raised his mom and his uncle and stuff, and they were raised pretty strict, in a pretty strict way. I'm gonna say it was a pleasure talking with you. It was nice talking to you. I know you have to jump, so I want to give you the 10 minutes to not have to rush and hustle.
Thank you. It was great meeting you. Let me
Likewise.
know when your next Zumba class is.
Saturday.
Do you do it on Zoom or do you Zoom Zumba or live Zumba?
No, I do live. They're both in Queens. I teach in 24-hour fitness in
Oh, okay.
in Queens over here on Saturdays, and then on actually Saturday and Monday, and then on Wednesdays I teach at Retro Fitness on Wednesdays. Yeah,
In
so I teach three.
Queens.
Yeah, they're all in Queens.
Oh, cool. I
Yeah,
love it.
whereabouts are you? You in the city?
I'm in the city, Manhattan.
Okay.
Yeah,
I used to
right
teach out
near.
there too,
Yeah.
but they closed all the gyms, all the 24-hour fitness in the Manhattan got closed down. I used to go out there like to sub other instructors for fun, try a different group. Like, you're trying different audiences. I do the same. I did well
Yeah.
everywhere except the Bronx. The Bronx didn't like, and which is where I'm from, which is ironic, but the Bronx rejected me.
Oh,
They really weren't feeling my
yeah. Well, I love music and exercise. It's my creative outlet. Like I get a lot of my best ideas. I used to run a lot, and that's when I got all my good ideas when I was running and listening to music and hurt my back. And so now I don't really have that anymore. So it's kind of a bummer. But so I'm trying to find out how to get those creative juices rolling in a different way.
Tell
So,
everybody how to find you on social media.
I'm on Instagram, Felicia Madison Comedian, and on YouTube now. And I have a website, FeliciaMadison.com, but I don't really keep it up to date as much as I should. There's just too much stuff. I used to be on Facebook and Twitter, and just if I spent all my time like on that, I wouldn't have time to do anything else. So I've sort of
Yeah.
like really just doing Instagram and now YouTube.
Yeah, I guess
So
those are the best. Although I saw your Twitter was shut down. It looks like it's gone.
yeah, I
I
shut it
did click on
down.
it. To it,
Yeah, I got involved in this like controversy and I decided just to shut it down.
mm, that could happen.
I just
Look
like
at
I
TikTok. TikTok's another one that
I'm on TikTok also. I put some up on TikTok. It's kind of like you're saying. I'm just, I'm waiting to go viral. The only time I go viral is when I get a cold.
which is me right now. Like,
Yeah, me too.
yeah, I hope I'm not sounding too nasally, but yeah,
Yeah. There's something I just had like this horrible like just at the end of like a really horrible cough. So but yeah, luckily it doesn't travel through the internet
we'd be
because
doing each
I'm
other.
not contagious. I'm not Zoom-tagious.
I
Anyway,
have
it was
some.
nice meeting you.
Yeah, likewise. All right.
Feel
Well,
better.
we'll be in touch. You too. Be well.
Okay, take
Bye,
care.
Julia. Take care,
Bye.
y'all.
Bye, Julia.
You are listening to the NYC Talking Podcast.
www.nyctalking.com. Please like NYC Talking on Facebook. Please follow Angel R Talk on Twitter and Instagram. We are NYC Talking, the realest lifestyle blog ever. Thanks for listening.